Hi everyone, my name is Iben and welcome to another deep dive into another trailer of Planet Zoo 2. Let's get started. I'll use this view of the magnificent seascape here to explain to you what the difference is between the two types of aquarium animals. On the one hand, you have what they call the hero animals. Animals that you place down as individuals, like the spotted eagle ray or for instance the sea turtles. Those are individual animals. And on the other hand, you have shoals. Instead of having one individual animal, you have a grouped entity. And this is probably how they tackled the optimization problem that they had to face. Because imagine if you had like hundreds and hundreds of fish in an aquarium, that would be a nightmare for your computer. So putting them into one shoal and making that the entire entity is, in my opinion, a good sacrifice to make, because in reality these animals are in shoals most of the time anyway. Moving on to the next frame, we see another new animal for the game, and this time around it's the hornbill. I really love this animal. It was on my wish list for birds, so now I can take that off already because hey, we're getting it, so I'm really happy about that. In this frame we can already spot a bunch of returning pieces. I can see the log pieces that are now going to be scalable, so that's really cool. We have a bunch of other plants that we see from the first game, but specifically this plant from the aquatics pack, which I'm really happy about, because I really think that the foliage in the aquatics pack was really good. And next to it on the other side of the frame we can actually see these palm pieces that are also making their return. Really happy about that. We're back in the African zoo that we've seen in the other trailers so far, and I can already spot a few new returning pieces. We have the big football piece that is returning, you have this feeding enrichment item right over here, and next to it you actually have the wooden elephant statue, which I actually quite like, and I hope that that is flexi-color this time around, because that would be really cool. One thing that I really like about this new theme is the fact that we're getting a lot of really vibrant, cool pieces, and I think you can do really cool stuff with that. I really like all of the wooden pieces, and we're going to dive deeper into this in one of the screenshots later on. I quickly want to pause here, not because we're seeing a full new animal, but just look at how incredible this elephant looks. The texture looks absolutely insane. I cannot say this enough. The animals are looking so freaking amazing. In this section of the video we can actually already see another returning piece that we didn't see in the other trailers. We see the big tire enrichment right over there, but in our right corner we can see the big wooden elephant headpiece that was from the original African theme. Now the theme, the South theme that we see in this trailer, is a new theme. It's not a returning theme that has been refurbished. So maybe because we've seen quite a few of the African theme pieces in this trailer, maybe that theme is one of the themes that is returning from the original base game. Skipping ahead to another part of the trailer, we see this frame, and it's absolutely incredible how beautiful the thatch pieces look. They absolutely got the biggest upgrade ever. I also really like all of these plant pots, and you can actually see two new decal pieces for the South theme, and those are the two pot decals right here on this building. In this frame we can see the zookeeper and the caretaker, but the staff member that I want to point at are the educators. They are officially back, as we know, and now you can actually see the redesign in the trailer themselves. They are all wearing these cool backpacks. We can also see the vet in here, and from the looks of it they also are carrying a backpack now. In this shot we can see two things. We have the gift shop in the back with a newly styled Planet Zoo bag, and we can also see that the guests are eating from the regular picnic tables, but instead of just eating a singular item, they have a tray that is connected to the restaurants. So just like in Planet Coaster 2, we are looking at the same restaurant setup where you can now attach them to every picnic table and not just some predetermined restaurant tables. Moving on to the next section of the trailer, we can actually see a really cool piece at use in the moat right here. Because this moat right here has a concrete wall surrounding it, and that is really interesting. The concrete looks textured like the other concrete pieces from the South theme, so I hope that this is one of many pieces that we can use for it. But honestly, I'm already really happy that Frontier introduced something like that. It really shows that they have been looking at what we've been building over the past few years. In this section of the giraffe, I really wanted to point out how beautiful they look. They look absolutely incredible. Same goes for the zebras. They absolutely look insane. In this next frame, you see the nature brush, and you see a whole bunch of brushes that you can use. On top of that, I also want to point out that there is a plus button, so that means that you'll probably be able to make your own customized nature brushes, just like you can in Planet Coaster 2. Another thing that I really want to point out is that next to the typical trees, rocks, and foliage tab, we also have a log tab. And from all the logs and broken trees and branches that we've already been able to spot in all of the trailers, this makes a lot of sense, and I'm really happy to see that we're going to get a whole bunch of those pieces because they are very prominent in a lot of zoos. However, the nature brush isn't the only way to place down foliage. We also have the advanced move tool like we always had, and here we finally see it. Scaling has been confirmed. We all expected it because it was part of Jurassic World Evolution 3 and Planet Coaster 2, but it's really nice to see it confirmed. Another thing that I wanted to point out is that in the settings menu at the bottom right, there seems to be a symmetry tool. There seems to be something hinting at the fact that we can finally build symmetrical things. Imagine the mud wall technique, but as an actual usable UI item in this game. That would be absolutely incredible, and I always said that I wasn't going to build another boat unless we had a symmetry tool, so my hopes are really high that this is indeed a symmetry tool and that we can use it that way. In this section we can actually see someone brush on water instead of first making a ditch and then changing the terrain. Now don't worry, we saw it in the previous trailer, the crocodile exhibit did have terrain differences inside of the water, so I assume the original way of working also still applies, but I'm really happy that we're getting this kind of brush with it as well. When looking at the terrain tool menu here, we seem to be getting a whole bunch of new options. On the right here, we see a whole bunch of new options, and I don't really know what to make of it. I need to see them being used to really understand what they actually do. Two of the later added pieces of the terrain system, the slope and the terrace function, seem to be back in the game as well, as they are here in the bottom row of this terrain tool. At the top of this menu, we see the three options for terrain editing. We see the regular sculpting option, the brush option at the end, and in the middle, the stamp tool. And that is good news to me because I really liked the stamps in the first game. Those gave you a lot of control over the terrain, and whilst they were finicky from time to time, I'm really happy to see them back in this game. This section of the video shows us the tropical map that we've seen so far in the first trailer, and I can now finally confirm that this is actually a tropical map on an island of sorts because there is a beach area on this map. You can actually see the waves crash on the beach, and that is absolutely gorgeous. In our session that we had with Frontier, we could actually see a plane as the entrance, which is really funny. In this section of the trailer, we can actually see how an aquarium gets made, and that's really interesting. So the moment you place down the aquarium entrance, it actually fills the aquarium with water. So that's slightly different from how habitats work. And as you can see in the menu, the original habitats seem to be a separate thing compared to the aquariums. But the coolest thing about this part of the trailer is that next to the gate button, there seems to be a tunnel button. So that points to me that we are going to get underwater tunnels, and that's absolutely incredible. Later on we will be looking at a bunch of screenshots, and one of them has the path tool in it, and the path tool also has this tunnel icon. So again, this makes me think that it is pretty much confirmed that we are going to get underwater tunnels in this game, and I'm so stoked for that. This frame has another Blink and You'll Miss It moment. We can actually see the stone lion from the East Asia set returning in this game, maybe hinting at the fact that the East Asia set is one of the 4 returning themes. Another part that seems to be hinting at that is that we get that fountain water bowl piece that you can find here at the bottom of this frame. And in this frame, all the way at the back, we can also see that that curved roof piece from the East Asia set from the first game is also returning. Another point of evidence to me that points towards a direction that this might very well be one of the 4 returning themes. This section of the trailer actually goes back to the map that we saw on the announcement countdown, as you can spot the bridge in the back right there with the water wheel. In this section of the park, we can already see the habitat for the beavers. In here, we can see that the floating platform seems to be returning as well. In Planet Zoo 2, you don't get natural enrichment pieces. Instead, the animals can just interact with the natural items as is. The tiger that you saw scratching the tree in the previous trailer is actually scratching a tree and not an enrichment piece, which I think is really cool. Which makes me wonder, now that we have a beaver habitat right here, where is that natural beaver enrichment piece that was from the first game? It feels so weird that that isn't in this exhibit. This is entirely speculation, but hopefully this means that they are actually building their own lodges and dams in this game instead of having to put down an enrichment piece first. Then we see the new habitat setup, which allows you to generate roofs on top of it. That's a really cool feature, and I'm really happy that this is a single setup and not a habitat, aviary, and aquarium setup. No, habitats can just now have roofs on top of them. That is really cool. You can customize these aviaries to your heart's desire, and that includes the roof, the position of the poles. Everything is customizable, which is really nice. And in this section, we finally get to see the new white-tailed eagle, and I love it so much. I really do hope that we are going to see a variant with a darker color, because I also really like how those look in real life. In this part of the video, we see that the enrichment piece is coming back, which is really lovely, but I do want to point at something else here. If you look at the menu, we get 3 flexicolor parts for this enrichment piece, which I don't think was flexicolor in the first game. But there's also like this weird magnet option here, and I absolutely have no idea what that means. Looking forward to finding out what that is, because you got my attention, Frontier. In this part of the video, we get another look at the wildlife reserves, and here we can actually see that there is an aquatic reserve in Africa where Lake Malawi is. So at least we know that we are going to be getting some freshwater African fish, which is really cool to me. We get to see our 2 white-tailed eagles fly over this wildlife reserve in the Scottish Highlands, and that is really damn incredible. In this frame, we get to see the beavers. Now, this is inside the Scottish Wildlife Reserve, so a North American beaver wouldn't really make sense, so I'm going to assume that this is a Eurasian beaver. In this frame, we can also see these puddles, which look absolutely gorgeous. You can also see them in a screenshot that I will be talking about later on in this video. Now, I've been praising this game a lot up until now, and I really mean that, but this for me is my first letdown. I don't really like the way the beavers look. They really look a lot more stylized than all the other animals that we've seen so far, and it really feels to me like this is almost a copy-paste from the first game, and I don't really like that. I don't want to say that the beaver actually looks ugly or anything, I just think it looks a lot more stylized than the other animals that we've seen in this trailer, and I really do hope that Frontier gives this animal another pass before the game gets released. Speaking of returning animals, we get the red deer again, which looks absolutely incredible in this engine. I like it a lot. It does not seem to have been changed a lot, but frankly, just like the wildebeest, this was an animal that was already incredibly top-notch, and I don't think this one sticks out like the beaver did in the previous part of the trailer. This one really fits in with all the other animals that we get to see. In this section of the video, I do want to point out that we get a whole bunch of really beautiful foliage. It really looks incredible. The two things that I really love is, again, the mushroom pieces on the trees right there, and these smaller mushroom cap pieces in the other corner of this frame. Absolutely gorgeous. Before we fully continue, I still want to point at all these beautiful bronze pieces, all these beautiful log pieces, and these broken pieces of wood. It looks so good. And this final part of the trailer, we can see the animals walk around, and we can see the Scottish Highland Reserve, and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Next up, we'll take another look at the newly revealed wolf trailer, because in there's also some really cool stuff as well. In this part of the trailer, we seem to be looking at a exhibit box, as was pointed out by a lot of people yesterday. It is difficult to say whether this is a cube or a rectangle. I've seen people argue about it, but frankly, from this perspective, anything could be skewed, so I'm not entirely sure what it is. The wolves look absolutely stunning. This is a massive upgrade compared to the first game, and I'm really hopeful that this is the same kind of upgrade we'll see in many more animals. In the back of this shot, we can also see something really interesting. That seems to be a leafless tree. As you can see here, the rope enrichment piece seems to be returning, and this time around the wolves can also use it, which I really like. We talked about this in the past. We already saw it in the north pictures, but as you can see right here, the water pipe piece is actually returned. In this part of the wolf reveal, we can actually see two things. We can see the typical feeder plate that they used in the first game, and we can also see that the tennis ball is returning. In this shot, we can actually see how animals interact with their environment a lot more than they used to be. You place down an enrichment item, that enrichment item rolled off the hill and bounced against this little pup, and it wakes up immediately. That is such a nice detail, and I'm looking forward to what Plastic Swans is going to do with this, because I really remember that she did some really cool stuff with enrichment items in the past in her videos. Once again, this shot looks absolutely gorgeous. I cannot state this enough. We see so many cool foliage pieces, so many pieces that are covered in moss. I love it so much. In this frame right here, we can actually see a wolf sitting down, and if I remember correctly, they didn't do that in the first game, so I'm glad that that was added. This scene is absolutely gorgeous. There are so many mushroom pieces once again, and I cannot overstate how insanely incredible the graphics look in this game. It's absolutely stunning. We see a whole bunch of fall foliage, and it all looks absolutely incredible. However, I simply don't know right now if this is part of the seasons or not. I don't want to speculate about that too much, because I don't want to disappoint anyone if it doesn't turn out to be that in the final release of the game. There seems to be at least one hint in this reveal trailer to the fact that this is something that you have to do yourself. Mel, the person who has built this habitat and who has been working on the trailers for Planet Zoo for quite a while now and is an absolute incredible builder, shout out to you, Mel, you have done some really insane stuff in these past few years, mentions that she wanted to build a autumnal forest for these animals. So that to me reads as intent and not something that is part of something that happens automatically. In this scene we can see that the feeder ball is also returning, which we all kind of expected, but I do feel like I have to point it out. The same goes for the zebra enrichment item, but you already saw that as well. Here again, in this part of the trailer, we can see that the brush is actually used to paint the water instead of first digging a ditch. See the bamboo enrichment piece, and now it's filled with meat, and I also don't know if the wolves used to have this in the past, so I get the feeling that they've updated a lot of the enrichment pieces to now be available for a lot more animals, and that is something that we asked about for such a long time, so I'm really happy to see that. Once again, I want to point out how incredible this animal looks. It looks absolutely gorgeous, and it's a major leap compared to the first game. As this footage of the chimps shows, the climbing has been improved a whole lot, and I'm really happy to say that, because it looks so much better, and I really hope that it is a lot less janky than it used to be. It looks absolutely incredible to me in this trailer, so I'm really happy about that. In this piece of footage of the crocodile, we can actually see what I talked about earlier. We do have a water brush right now, but from the looks of it, we can still form the terrain as we want and then cover it with water as we used to. This looks really good. I love the way this exhibit was set up. In the back here, you can actually see a filter piece, which seems to be a lot smaller than the previous filters. We got some additional footage for the tiger, and the one thing that I wanted to point out is that the enrichment piece on which they attach a piece of meat is returning as well. And here we have it, the actual confirmation that we do have customizable staff buildings. This looks absolutely beautiful. I am really looking forward to having this in the game. I recently said that I didn't want to do a lot more backstages, and well, Frontier seems to be pulling me back in, because yeah, I'm going to have to do them, ain't I? As mentioned before, the animals now interact with their environment a lot more, and as you can see right here, the tiger is scratching the palm tree, which is a different tree than we saw in the previous trailer, confirming once again that animals interact with their environment and that these are not placeable enrichment items but just foliage items. Really cool addition. I'm really stoked about that. On top of that, we have a whole bunch of screenshots that we can look at, and that's also really cool. First of all, we can see two elephants. The small baby elephant looks so cute. And one thing that I think is absolutely amazing is that the elephant is actually eating from the tree. This is once again the animal actually interacting with their habitats, and that's so cool. I love it so much. Another thing that I wanted to point out right here is that we seem to be getting these root pieces right here. They do look different than the ones that we saw in the South America pack, so that's already really cool. And on top of that, we seem to be getting these glass pieces, and they look like the glass pieces from the New World theme in the first game. Finally, I want to point at this waterfall right here. There has been a lot of discussion whether it's a waterfall system like in Jurassic World Evolution 3 or if these are effects, and these specific waterfalls at least seem to be effect pieces. And the reason why I'm saying that is because if we really zoom into this picture, and we really have to zoom in quite a lot, you can actually see the two effect pieces right here. They are colored blue because they are water pieces, and they have the new models from Planet Coaster 2. So yeah, at least these waterfalls in this picture are actual effect pieces and are not the waterfalls that we see in Jurassic World Evolution 3. I don't want to say that this means that we're not getting them at all. I'm just saying these waterfalls right here, those are effect pieces. In the next screenshot, we see the secretary bird again, and I want to point out at how gorgeous it looks. The feathers look absolutely incredible. The legs look perfect. There's nothing that I can say about this animal. It looks so good. What I really like are these really small little pebble pieces. I really hope that we can scale them down quite a lot. And again, I really like the log piece right here at the bottom. That looks incredible. This screenshot, we're looking at the spotted eagle ray. Now, I don't know a lot about marine animals, so I can't point out anything that looks wrong. In my opinion, it looks absolutely gorgeous. I love it a lot. One thing that I want to point out right here is the rocks. They look so good. And if we zoom in, we can actually see like small pieces of fossil imprints in these rocks, and that is just absolutely insane. I think it absolutely looks gorgeous. This picture of the entrance of the African Zoo is again really gorgeous. I love the way it looks. There's a few things that I want to point out. So first of all, the piece right here seems to be returning from the first game. I also really like these log pieces. They are so cool. They are gnarly. They aren't perfectly straight. I think that is absolutely gorgeous. In the session that we had with Frontier, they did mention that almost everything is going to be flexicolor, and this seems to be the case for this information sign right here. In the base game, this was a dark wood, and here it's quite light, so that's really cool. I also want to point out that here at the bottom we have these cool pots, and they do have a kind of mulch piece inside of them. If we look at the rest of this area right here, we can see the same texture that we saw here return right here. So I do hope that these are all mulch pieces, and I also genuinely hope that we can recolor those. One last thing that I want to point out here is that we see the zoo font piece being resized, so the O here is being resized. The only thing that is currently scaring me just a tiny little bit is the fact that this O piece isn't that big, and it's still at scale 0.82, and that's not a lot, and there's not much left. So I'm afraid that this means that we can't scale this down as much as I hope it's going to be able to scale down. Of course, this is just a screenshot. This could change in the future, but I am a little bit worried about that. In this screenshot about blueprints, we can already see some really cool new things. You have the monkey decal in a better look, and I still can't tell you which monkey this is. I simply don't know. Some people say proboscis, but I don't know if that makes sense in an African themed set, so really no idea. I do like the gecko one right here. That looks really beautiful. One thing that I want to point out is this right here. The buoy piece right here I think is absolutely amazing, and it's one of those pieces that I've been wanting for quite a long while. It looks really good. I like the way this all looks. It looks absolutely gorgeous. And speaking about things that look gorgeous, right here at the top we see even more decal pieces, this time with some regular patterns and some flowers and some leaves. Again, looks really cool. We have blueprints over here, and we see like the typical Frontier style blueprints right here. Once again, pointing at the fact that we can actually customize our staff buildings. There is no box around it. It is an empty box here. That is really cool. And we can also see that there seem to be some regular blueprints that the player that played in this zoo has been making. That's really cool to see. This is one of my most favorite screenshots from the entire set that we've gotten, because there's some really cool stuff to see in here. We see the aviary tool, and one thing that I want to point out right away is the fact that this is quite a low fence. As you can see, it's basically the height of a path right here. So that means that we're most likely going to be able to make aviaries that come all the way to the ground. And if they don't, then you can probably cover that up with terrain, and then it will look amazing anyway. So yeah, that's something that I've been not really worrying, but I've been wondering about that for a while now. Like, are we going to be able to make aviaries that go all the way to the ground? And from the looks of it, we can, and that is really interesting. There's a few more things that I want to point out in the screenshot though. Right here we do have these root pieces that seem to be returning from the South America pack. We have a better look at the, I'm going to assume, grizzly bear statue, and right here we have another statue, and I don't really know which animal this is. This looks like a fish. Is this one of the freshwater fish? I simply don't know. I couldn't tell. I do think it's really beautiful picture. I know I'm saying a lot of reallys, but I absolutely adore it. I really like these new gates over here. I think they work quite well, and I like the new log pieces. I also adore these flat rock pieces right here. I think those are incredible. There's one more part that I want to point out, and that's right here in the corner. We do seem to be getting some kind of mesh pieces right here, and there is a suspicious dirt pile right there, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that in another screenshot, because there is something that looks like that in one of the other screenshots, as I mentioned. Here we can also see the dynamic moss rocks. I'm sorry, I've been recording for a while now. They look really good, and I think they even look better than they used to look in the previous game. And here in the back we can see some really cool pieces. There seems to be like a curved door piece, which I think is amazing. There is some kind of statue here, absolutely no clue what that one is, but it looks like a wooden sculpture to me, and there seems to be some kind of wheel piece right there. I also spotted these chimney pieces right here, and here in the other part of the screenshot we have the old chimney pieces from the classic set, and that makes me think that potentially we might even be able to see the classic set returning to the game as well. In my opinion, that would make a lot of sense. I just genuinely hope that they put all the pieces from the Europe set inside of the classic set as well. In this screenshot again of the hawksbill turtle, we can see a lot of really cool stuff. First of all, the caustics look absolutely gorgeous, and as we were told by Frontier, this is actually dynamic caustics. This is not like any cheated system where they just project the texture. No, this is really well done. It actually responds to the light that is shining on top of these aquariums. That's absolutely insane. Another thing that I want to point out is this treasure chest over here. I do notice that the scaling isn't here in this part of the UI, but this seems to be a old piece of UI because that looks like a placeholder to me. The scaling is visible right here, so maybe it allows you to do that anyway. I am not sure. One thing that I also want to say is that the UI looks absolutely gorgeous. I've talked about that in a previous video, but I really think this is an incredible upgrade. And I want to point out one specific thing that really makes it so amazing to me, and it's a very nerdy thing. So I could understand that you're probably like, Iben, what the hell are you talking about? But it's the fact that the color circles right here aren't actually perfect circles. Instead, they are a little bit wonky, and it really helps with the overall feeling that you have with this UI. It looks so good, and it's those small little details that really give you that cozy, wholesome vibe with this UI, which I really like. Here we get another screenshot of the African zoo. Really cool to see. There are a few pieces that I recognize, but I think we've already pointed them out before. So I'm just going to zoom in here and check this part of the screenshot, because I really like all of the textures right here. They look absolutely incredible. I really like the way that this south theme looks, and I'm really looking forward to seeing other zoos with other themes, so that we can get a little bit more of an idea what the other themes are going to offer. But yeah, looks absolutely incredible. I think the game looks better than ever, really. Here we get to see one of the coolest things about the Keeper, and that's the fact that they are actually cleaning the windows, which is absolutely insane. It's such a small little detail, but I really like the way that that works. I also really love this new UI. It looks really cool. I love this "Hi, my name is" tag. It's such a small detail, but it really does a lot. I haven't really spotted anything specific in this screenshot that I haven't seen anywhere else, but yeah, still really love it. There is only one thing that I kind of want to see different in the future, or just hope that it's an option to change this, and this: I don't like the glass bulb on top of them. I wish that was just scuba gear instead of it. It is a little bit too whimsical for me. Here we see another picture of a wildlife reserve, as you can see, because there is a hornbill flying freely over there, which is absolutely gorgeous. We can see that the bamboo pieces seem to have had a new texture and a new color, which I like. They look really good. And overall, this screenshot is absolutely, well, I'm sorry for the pun, bananas. I think it's really, really cool. I really love this really tiny, small stream, and I'm really happy that this is still possible in this game. We're almost at the end of this video. Thank you for sticking with me for so long. This is another screenshot of the wildlife reserve, and as I mentioned in the beaver section, we seem to have these puddles again, and that is really, really cool. I can't wait to see what that actually means in the game. One thing that I wanted to point out here specifically is this piece right here. Here we have terrain, but this is a piece. I think this is a mud wall, and I think this is the suspicious looking dirt piece that we saw in the previous video, in the previous picture. So yeah, I think this is a recolorable mud piece, and that would be absolutely incredible. Here we can see the Maasai giraffe again, and again, once again, it all looks so cool. I can't keep repeating the same thing over and over. It looks absolutely gorgeous. This is a screenshot right here that tells us everything about the pathing system, and from the looks of it, it really is the same pathing system as Planet Coaster 2. It is absolutely insane because I really, really like it. There's a whole bunch of really cool customization possible. You can turn on and off curbs, you can add railings or not. It's really, really cool. There's a lot of really cool options. Once again, we have this magnet option right here, and I simply do not know what it is meant to be. But here we do have the tunneling icon again. So yeah, that does really point at the fact that the tunneling is part of the path, and the tunnel icon that we saw with the marine habitats is most likely pointing towards underwater tunnels. As you can see right here, we have our three typical path pieces. We have our regular path, our staff paths, and our queue pieces. One more thing that I want to point out in this part of the video here is these cool lantern pieces with I assume a candle inside. I think that's really cool, and I really like this planter pot right here. I think that is really beautiful. I also like this one, the stone one. There's so many pots and planters. I genuinely love it so far. And here is the final picture. Again, it's a picture of the nature brush. We basically have seen everything so far. There are some really cool plants in here, and I think all of them are just, if you create a brush, it will just take one of the plants in that brush and take that as an icon. I really like all these rocks. I'm really happy that we're getting like a pebble rock brush. That is really, really cool. So this is the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I know it's a very long one, and I really appreciate that you're sticking with me. If you want to hear even more, and if you want to hear about a little secret that I've been keeping for all of you guys for quite a long while now, there is another video on this channel right now about a little confession about Planet Zoo 2. Go and watch that video. I think it's a really, really cool thing that I'm able to tell you guys. So please go watch that video. It's gonna be fun. Thank you so much for watching this one. Do everything you want to do, like, comment, and subscribe, and I can't wait to see more of Planet Zoo 2. Everything we've seen so far is absolutely incredible.